Hey, everybody. Terrence and I want to thank you so much for all the Drinks with My Wife podcast downloads.
Thank you.
He can never give me my moments. Never. Anyway, we're glad you're enjoying it. Please be sure to share with your friends, family, and colleagues that you think will enjoy our madness as well. And don't forget to subscribe because that gives you notifications of new episodes, which happen every week. Thanks again and enjoy. All right. Hey, babe.
Hey.
What are you drinking?
I is drinking a margarita because,
That's what you do.
yeah, it's 2020. It feels festive. It's a way to like counteract all the craziness going on in the world right now.
It's also just nice on a summer
It
afternoon.
is.
And we are in a summer afternoon.
And it makes it feel, to think about a margarita
It's
is that
festive.
it makes it feel like I'm not really drinking.
Yeah.
Like something about, and as much as I love whiskey and I'll bathe in it, margarita makes me feel like I'm kind of having fruit punch with a little bit of kick.
But the thing about whiskey is, for me, a whiskey's a after 6 p.m. drink.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Or like even, I love just vodka on the rocks. But
Right.
even that feels very much like a 6 p.m. kind of drink.
Vodka on the rock seems like I'm trying to get fucked up kind of drink.
And yet, I don't feel like it fucks me up.
It slows.
I can drink it all night long.
Yeah, it is definitely if we're walking the Vegas Strip, that is that is going to
like
be my
while
drink.
we're walking, you mean?
Oh, hell yeah, it's open container laws. No, I'm just saying, like, if we're going to be, I'm thinking about that, or it's also good on vacations because it's nice and light. It's not like,
But don't you love like just a martini?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I like vodka, period, in
Yeah.
that way. Like, if you start drinking whiskey too early, it could end up.
Yeah.
It's usually when you end up behind bars.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
Or sleep until noon
Nice.
the next day. I'm just drinking mezcal, one of our favorites, actually, 400 conejos,
Nice. Nice.
which means 400 rabbits. I know
Apparently.
it's a very odd name, but it's a fantastic mezcal.
That we brought
Which
back from
it's hard-
Mexico.
Yeah, because it's really hard. I'm not sure we should say that. But yeah, it's hard to find in the U.S. And when you do find it, it's outrageously
ridiculously priced.
expensive. And yet, whenever we've been in Mexico, it's like $1. Well, no, that's an
So
exaggeration.
but you can get 750 milliliters literally for like $14.
Yeah.
But yet when
It's
you're back
$50
in
in the U.S.
which is what leads us to being smugglers.
Yeah,
So
it's
holla at your boy if you need
bananas.
some conejos.
Yeah, don't put that out there. Don't put that out there.
Yeah,
This is all
exactly.
recorded. We don't want people to know
I
that.
got enough tax issues.
Yeah.
So what we doing?
We want to talk about today.
You
You choose. I think I chose the last time. You choose today.
you actually did. So I got a couple of things that I got to think. No, you know what? Let's just go this because we've been watching a lot of movies because we've all been in lockdown.
Yes. And older movies, too, which has been a lot
It
of
has
fun.
been fun. We'll have to revisit that.
Yeah.
There's some bullshit we need to talk about. Some of the movies we used to love.
Yeah.
Teen Wolf, I'm coming for you. But I definitely, one of the things, I'm a huge movie fan and have worked on films. If you don't know me and this and the other. But I will say this. The thing I hate the most in all movies is sex.
What do you mean?
Because it usually brings a...
No, what do you mean by I hate sex in
There's
movies?
very few movies. With the exception of like the original Get Carter, A Clockwork Orange, that David Cronenberg movie. I'm forgetting it right now. But there's very few times where sex is used to move the story forward. It usually just stops.
Oh, I see
so
what
we
you're
can show
saying.
them banging.
I see what you're saying.
And so then to
You feel like it's gratuitous?
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, let's see her tits. What brings me to my absolutely number one thing that I can't stand is nudity in movies. Because it's always a woman's breast, which, by the way,
And vagina.
they never show the actual
Yes,
vagina. They show some rug.
Well, let's just say this, because I'm with you. I agree with this. I think the female nudity is much more prevalent.
Oh, 100%.
Full female nudity is much more prevalent than full
yeah.
male nudity. I'm not entirely... Well, I have some theories as to why this takes place, and they're very outdated, archaic views on the female body versus the male body. But I'm with you. I can't stand it. I think it is just...
It's gratuitous.
Well, it's worse than that. It's worse than that for me. It's this idea of it's okay to show a woman fully naked, but it's not okay to show a man fully naked.
No.
And that to me is just disgusting.
Well, it shows the power of who's making the movies, but it also shows
For sure.
like male fragility, because like suddenly if you're pulling a fucking Kevin Bacon, the next thing you know you're showing your dick, like all of a sudden people are going to wonder, like you're going to be judged. Whereas we'll look at female actresses who get boob jobs and show their breasts and continually judge them.
Or or quite frankly, who haven't. Like you're absolutely right. Like men are, this is a whole nother,
Oh my God.
this is a whole,
Man, this took a turn quick.
Yeah, because this is a whole nother topic.
We're going to call this the limp dick episode. Already just
men are so consumed by this idea of how big their dicks are. But I think you're on track when you say that this is a key component of the reason why it's not being shown. Because if a man feels like he is not adequate in that way, he feels a bit subconscious about it.
Yeah.
Self-conscious.
That's okay.
I knew that wasn't the right word.
Tequila gets you every time.
It really does. Mezcal. Self-conscious about it. And yet it's okay to show a woman being fully naked.
Whether she's an A cup or a D cup, it don't matter.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
And the sad part about it is, and quite frankly, I feel like movies before the 2000s, you saw a lot of female nudity. After the 2000s, you see a bit more male nudity. But what happens? It's shocking. You're like, wait a second.
No dicks though. You've seen some dicks? I mean, non-porn, non-recreational type.
Let me tell you something. I pause on a dick. And so, yes, I have seen it. Why?
Because it's rare.
Because I'm always surprised. And
Right.
It's always like, hang on a second. Is that Bruce Willis's dick?
Oh, yeah.
Or hang on a second. Is that... I can't even think of somebody else right
Think about
now,
that. How few names you can like pull out of a
Yes.
hat. Whereas they would literally cast women to show their breasts, like in like Wedding Crashers, where they had,
That's
where they're all
right.
falling on the bed. And I remember the company I worked at, it was like they were casting some of the actresses from that company. And it's like, you got to be okay with nudity.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to show, whatever those guys
Vince
are?
Vaughn
Vince
and
Vaughn and
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson. They're going to show their dicks? Of
course not.
Of course not. Because, and I could blame it all on men, but there is a female component there as well. Like, because our minds have been so much of male sexual prominence, I don't know how to phrase it, has been placed on the size of his penis.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And men are a lot more obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Because you get self-conscious, so so when I was thinking about nudity in film, like that's just it's fucking
But
exhausting.
here's my the other aspect of this that I think could be... Well, okay, it's my theory. I'm just going to go with theory.
Go.
But
knock it out.
Let's do it. My theory is also that this archaic prehistoric view, right, that the female form is beautiful and sexual and sensuous, and a male's body is not, for whatever reason. And I'm not sure where this ever came from, right? But this idea that the female form should be viewed and looked at because worshipped because it's beautiful. I totally agree with that statement.
I'm a big fan.
But the idea that the same adjectives are not used to describe the male form because it puts women in the view of constantly being sexual beings.
Right.
A being to have sex with, and the male is the one to be doing that, and it's really this Neanderthal kind of view, and it goes back to this idea of men crave sex and they crave it with women, and that's what women are there for. They're there to have these beautiful, voluptuous, awesome bodies for men to be savoring and
think
having
about
sex
if things
with.
got turned on its ear. So let's say in an alternate universe, we suddenly start showing men's dicks on TV or in film.
Oy.
I'm not saying it's going to be a happy sight. I'm just saying, like, they're going to need some captions at the front to go, be warned.
In the great words of Elaine Bennis, I don't know how you guys walk around with that thing.
Exactly. But think about, like, if things begin to shift to where the most masculine men, so let's take someone like The Rock, and we found out that The Rock was built like the pebble. Like he was fucking, feel like he had a third belly button. Like would he suddenly not be the action hero that he was, despite all his other physical capabilities? Will we suddenly start going, I don't know, some skinny, scrawny actor, DJ Qualls or someone like that, where it's like, oh yeah, he weighs 90 pounds, but that motherfucker's hung like a king. Like, would that begin to shift things? I don't think it would. It just would make men suddenly feel vulnerable in a way that it becomes a power displacement. Like suddenly, the greatest secret I have, you don't get to see. Does that make sense? Like suddenly it starts shifting that power dynamic. Like guys are so.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't know that it makes sense, but I do understand what you're saying, and I understand how that could be a component of it, because.
And I'm all for that.
But it goes back to what I said earlier. This is part of the problem, right? This idea, there's so much value placed on the size of a man's penis, and so if we'll just use The Rock as an example, and if you're listening, The Rock. Listen,
Dwayne,
just show us your penis and then, remove all.
Dude, we've heard stories. It's all good. It's all good.
In any event.
You're a grower, not a shower. It's all good, dog.
Maybe he swam in the pool. Where was I going? Where was I going with this? Where I was going with this, I think, was when you have this physical specimen who is I don't want to say the definition of a masculine man, because for me,
they're painted as heroes.
And superheroes and all masculine and all this and all that, which is a bunch of bullshit in and of itself.
Right.
And then he has a small penis. So I understand what you're saying, right? Like this idea that, like, wait, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
Like this, none of this.
Well, look at the false positive it would create.
And yet, when you have a woman who is incredibly thin, which has become now this definition of beauty in women, although that I'm not sure why either. And I'm not going to say thin. I'm going to say skinny.
Skinny, right? Not thin, skinny.
And she has no breasts. Why? Because she's skinny.
Right. Because God don't fuck around.
No one looks at that and judges it in any way, shape, or form. You look at it and go, okay, it makes sense. But when you see this really muscular man, there's this direct correlation to his penis, and it's like, hang on a second. He wasn't born that way. Like, he built those muscles. He worked hard on those muscles. And quite frankly, I don't think there's dumbbells for your penis to make it bigger.
Are you kidding me? They would sell like crazy.
They would. It would be better than Viagra. But it's this really weird dynamic. And it's very disgusting to me, quite frankly, this double standard of it's okay to show women's bodies in films and it's not okay to show men's full nudity in films. It's such a double standard. It's really disgusting. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh. And the reality is that I'm with you. For me, sex scenes more often than not are so completely unnecessary. And
Out of Sight's a good one. Sorry. That's a great sex scene.
Yeah.
That moves the story forward.
100%.
Yep.
But normally they're so unnecessary.
Horrible.
They're so like, oh, come on. Like, that's not.
Outside of porn, there's really no reason to show the sex scene. You can just usually skip past it.
Exactly.
But I do, it is one of those things where, it's funny. Total U-turn. For anyone that doesn't know what a U-turn is, Uana's name is spelled UANA. So anytime we take the story takes a turn, we call it a U-turn because there's no warning. Here's a U-turn. Have you ever been to a nude beach? I mean, you've gone to Italy. Did you show some shit?
So, well, first of all, yes, I've been to Italy, and in Italy, women go topless all the time. Not fully nude, but topless all the time, and
you don't think anything of it.
They don't think anything of it, and it means nothing.
Right.
It means absolutely nothing. I have been to a nude beach, but not to go to the beach, meaning...
you were there strictly for the dicks.
Kind of. No, that's not what it was. It was actually, believe it or not, in Toronto, of all places. And so it must have been a lake, because Toronto's not on the ocean. And I remember, and don't ask me why I was there. I didn't go to the beach. It was literally like just a walk on the beach with people I was with, and we happened to come upon a nude beach.
Right.
But it wasn't like it was a destination. Like we didn't choose to go to a nude beach
Right.
and then hang out naked on the nude beach. But yes, I have been to a nude beach.
I've never been to a nude beach. And I do wonder about my own level of self-consciousness on a beach. But by the way, I mean, it's not even about any hesitance about my own fucking how I'm going to appear naked. It's just more about, first of all, whenever you see it, like whenever you see stuff on like Real Sex, it ain't never anybody you want to see naked. That's also the thing about Toronto. Like you gotta assume, when you say I went to a nude beach in Toronto, I think, man, there was a lot of really white people there. Like it's gonna be like the sun must have been bouncing off of it. Like it doesn't seem. When I think about a nude beach, it feels very sexualized, and I don't know. The only way that would probably be combated or beat is to actually visit one. Mm-hmm. But I've never been to a nude beach, nor that I've ever. Although we've been places where there have been nude beaches. It's not anything that holds any like level of attention. God sent me here with a beautiful tan. I don't need to get buck naked to fucking touch it up.
You bring about a good point, because I do wonder if there's a level of self-consciousness that comes from participating in a nude beach or something like that, right? Because it's not just about breast size or penis size, right? It's also about just your own body image and how you view yourself and the level of comfort you have. But I would imagine, and again, I've never participated, but I would imagine that a nude beach is conducive to acceptance and openness.
It would have to be.
And you know what I mean? It's not one of these, it's real. I think when you go to a nude beach, it's real.
Right.
You see a real population. It's not one of these fucking reality shows where they're stranded on an island and everybody's fit and got an amazing body. And, you know, and looks
where the
fantastic.
fat person's the outlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And even they feel confident
Yep.
for, so in any event. So I would imagine that's the case, that there's this level of openness and acceptance.
But think about this. Like we've often talked about, one of the characteristics that we both share is not giving a shit. Mm-hmm. Like going to a nude beach would be the ultimate definition of not giving a shit, because suddenly while I don't feel self-conscious about my body, like that would be a moment where you go, no. Let me see how much if you really don't give a shit, walk around fucking holding a umbrella under your shoulder and fucking dick hanging out. You know, like all of a sudden you start going, I really don't care if someone's looking at me or glancing, because the irony about,
and I don't think they are
body
by the
image.
way.
Yeah, the interesting thing about how you view your body is that it's the only one you got. So I guess, especially in terms of men. So if you're self-conscious about the size of your dick, good luck. There's not, like you said, there is no dick bells. There's no dick barbells. And the same thing with a woman. It's one of those things, like whatever issues you're having personally, like there's only so much you can do. Like you can have things nipped and tucked, but here's the thing. People are going to be judging that shit too.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, those tits ain't real.
Yeah.
My goodness, those are shiny. You know what I mean? Like it's like, so, if you're really worried about, I think that might be the last step of not really giving a shit about what someone thinks would be show up naked on a beach.
Yeah.
I mean, one that is accepting of it. Don't do that shit in Santa Monica. That'll get you, copped up.
And I do think, one of the things I do remember from just even strolling on that nude beach was that it was just like being at a beach, meaning you had people who were with their families, a significant other, even if they were by themselves, and their activity didn't alter because they were naked, meaning
They're playing volleyball and shit?
I don't remember.
I was just looking for jumping. Yeah.
I don't remember sports taking place. It might have. I don't really know. But my point was less about that. It was more about you had people sitting under an umbrella reading,
right,
or you had someone bathing in the sun,
or
you had someone going into the ocean.
Right.
Like their behavior and their activity. They were still on a beach, and they wanted to be on the beach doing the things that people go to the beach for.
Right.
The difference was, they were naked. And I imagine, I didn't speak to any of them, but I imagine that's, they went to that beach, and being naked is no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just. Yeah.
Well, it seems like it definitely, well, we know how nudity is viewed in the U.S. Like, it's so, like, God forbid someone finds that short hair 5-year-old kid who's running around with no top but has on bottoms is a girl at a swimming pool. Someone's going to complain. Even though she's built like the 5-year-old boy. They're going to go, oh my God, make her put a top on. So we know how we view nudity. I just couldn't even imagine trying to get over that in the U.S. because it's so ingrained in who is as American as apple pie and racism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine trying to get people to go. Think about this. We still live in a world where we still live in a country where people complain about whether or not a woman should be able to breastfeed in public.
I know, it's bananas.
Like, should she be able to feed a being?
Yeah.
With her, like, you're gonna sexualize that? Let me let you in a little something, homie.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing sexy about that. That is a
and
feeding
it hurts
thing.
like hell.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's my little add-on. In case you were wondering.
Exactly.
But going back to where we started the conversation was about nudity in film. Quite honestly, I don't want to see a fully naked man on
in
film.
general, or just. I mean, not me. That wasn't a dig. I'm just saying, like, in film in general. Yeah, in general.
Like,
yeah.
Like, more often than not, I'm just like, oh God, I didn't need to see that.
Yeah, he hangs left. Damn.
It's not even about evaluating it in that way. It just feels so jarring. And maybe a big part of that is because you rarely see it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
It feels really jarring. But it always feels so unnecessary.
It almost feels like, unless that Bruce Willis film where he plays the therapist that's really bad and he's swimming in the pool and the water's cold, like, it almost feels like
Bruce Willis always looks good.
Or it almost feels with male nudity. Look what we can do. Look what we're gonna do. We're gonna show you his dick. Like, it's well lit. His bush is fucking picked out perfectly. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, it's a deliberate act as opposed to something that seems naked.
Yeah.
And the reason, it's for me, the reason nudity always feels forced is because think about how many movies and shows we see where everyone sleeps in pants or tank tops or maybe some short shorts, or even after sex, the first thing they do is get up and put on some fucking shorts, not strut off, take off a rubber, or fucking wipe down the goods. Like, no, they get up and put on some shorts because they go, the last thing we can't show that.
Right.
Whereas that is the most unnatural thing.
Yeah.
Or I love those movies where people are arguing after sex or as they get out of bed, and they're getting dressed while they're arguing. Like you can have a really good knockdown, drag them out argument, butt ass naked.
Yeah.
But we take this moment to make sure they're getting dressed. Where maybe if we, like you said, you don't want to see, you don't having any desire to see male nudity. Maybe if we saw it more often, of course, it would be less jarring. And then it becomes
sure.
and movies would feel more natural.
Yeah.
Like, you get an argument, he stands up, she stands up, and maybe I would be less offended by a women's breasts suddenly popping up. Like, oh my God, for some reason they're laying under the sheets and the blanket is only coming up to their waist. Well, of course it does only come up to their waist because now we can see her breasts and we don't have to see his dick.
Right.
So
yeah, it's really, again, for me, it's just such a double standard. And yeah.
This is what I'd love to know. I wonder if people actually fuck it. Do you enjoy nudity in things, or is it in films, or is it necessarily jarring? I'm asking guests. I'm just kind of curious. Like,
I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are.
It stands out because for me, it stands out. And like I said, I feel like I can name the movies where it's done with necessary taste, or not even necessary. It doesn't matter how artful it is. Anything put in a film should be moving the story forward. Whereas sex always feels like, all right, well, I guess we've been dealing with this buildup of sexual tension. We need to show them have sex,
right?
So I'd love to know if it's bothersome to people, or if it's just us, or if we're just prudes. Like, we're just old school. Like, if I'm going to see nudity in a story, I like it in porn. You know what I mean? When the refrigerator delivery man stops by, and next thing you know, the pool boy's coming out. Sorry, Liberty University. Whenever things happen,
That's
so
funny.
that's just my thoughts. So if you definitely have any thoughts on that, if I want to hear you, I know you have thoughts on it. Just leave a comment. Let us know does it bother you, or is there a nudity used properly in a film that we have not seen?
Yeah. Do you feel like there's value in it?
100%.
I'd love to hear that too.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining Drinks with My Wife.
That's me.
Peace.
Thanks for joining Drinks with My Wife. Please be sure to click the subscribe button and rate us on Apple Podcast and Spotify.